Well, ho ho ho, Merry Christmas! It's Christmas time here at Dunroth, and we're just about done with Halloween for the year. But does it ever really end? I don't know. You finally get cleaned up and then it starts building season again. So the sensor for this book is hiding right up here, and we're gonna trip that right now. These are cricket stencils that my wife cut. You can see how we just crudely taped the Noma lights upside down. It's facing downwards. Hit the stencil and it was illuminated. And then although we could run it on the red, we usually just kept it on the multicolored. You can hear that thing. The ultrasonics, you can hear them when they're detecting. Okay, let's go around the corner here to Freddy the zombie now. He should be armed and ready to go too. Alright, things are starting to get back to normal here around Dunroth. Got the place open right up again here pretty much. Except one closet left where Freddy's hiding still. So you can see a little bit better here how the Noma lights were. There was 3 of those and then 1 bar. I remember in a previous video I said there was 4 Noma lights, but there's actually only 3, and then this bar is running on the LED rainbow colored licorice cable, they call it, just the same as the others. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then 4 right there. And you can see how that works. These are the LEDs that you buy usually from China and places around North America that say they make it there. They get the same stuff from China, so don't let them lie to you. Even Costco. Costco's lying. It's all made in China. Don't lie to us, Costco. So you can see how the closet was a little bit better now. Busted it right open. You can see a couple of my ultrasonic sensor and relay combos back there, and I'm going to show you firsthand how those things work today, right now. So there's one going to the book, and the sensor for that one was right here as you were in the main room. And then Freddy here in his closet, the other sensor for him was right down here. All right, so when you're using these ultrasonic sensors, the first rule to using them is that the sensor itself has to be mounted securely, like tight. You do not want the sensor wiggling around at all. In previous experiences with this guy right here, because of like the phone cable that comes with it, I had the sensor mounted, but it wasn't mounted securely. So as the animatronic would move around a little bit, it would wiggle the sensor, and then it was able to trip itself sometimes when it wasn't supposed to. So that's the first thing you gotta do, is you gotta make sure that these sensors are mounted securely. You don't want them to be able to wiggle around at all. You want that thing tight. Tether the cable however you have to, whatever you gotta do. So the way I had these two configured here in this closet between Freddy the Zombie and the book that was right over here. You can see the hot wire running across, coming up here. They're both tied into their own controller, but both of these props specifically are, they're hooked up in tandem with the existing PIR sensor that's on them. So here's Freddy's sensor right here. It never ever worked good right from the beginning, and then especially when it gets cold. So I figured that this ultrasonic was the better way to go about with props in general. And it actually is, especially if you're in Canada or if you're in a colder climate where you're trying to use these props and you're outdoors and you're getting into the minus. These things aren't gonna work like pretty much at all. And it's not because they're froze up, it's because they cannot see any kind of heat signature coming off of anything, because a PIR sensor loses its range or loses its depth when you're in cold temperatures. If you look at the packaging on all of the props that you're buying, what do they all say? Designed for indoor use only. So my friends, you were already warned, but they don't tell you why it's only designed for indoor use. It's not because they're worried about a little condensation or rain getting on them. It's because these PIR sensors do not work in windy conditions or cold conditions or both. Way back, I found these ultrasonic controllers, and they're for parking your car inside your garage. They're set for an 8, a 6, and a 4-foot setting. The 8 and the 4-foot have their own independent channel, and then the 6-foot is a combination of the two channels together. So it was giving a green light, a yellow light, and a red light is how it worked. You can see how both of these relays here, I just have rigged into both the 4-foot and the 8-foot. So no matter what, when you're in the 4-foot or the 8-foot range on these things, you're going to trigger those props. If you're using these sensors and they don't actually have 4 or 8 feet in front of them, like the way that they're designed to run, they also will not work properly. So if you're putting it in too tight of a space, it's not going to work correctly. You need either that 4 or that 8 feet, depending on which part of the controller that you're tapped into. Again, it's got a 4-foot setting and it's got an 8-foot setting. And so if you're set on the 8-foot and you only have 4 feet where you're at, the 8-foot's not gonna work properly. So you need to find some crazy angles sometimes. So in this instance, because some of my rooms are tight, this angle that I was at ended up working out the best here in the main room. And this one was pretty much flawless. The book, it has a duty cycle on it, so it'll run the sequence and then it takes about a 5 to 10 second pause and then it's ready to go again. Again, both of these props, I hot wired into them so that they're running in tandem with the existing infrared sensor that's on them. At the moment it says we've got a wind chill of -25 right now, and I'm gonna do some quality control here in the garage so we know what temperature we're running today. Running a little bit of heat in here today. Oh, minus over there a bit. Sneak up on Freddy again. Go nice and slow here and see at what range that sensor gets us. So there it is, and it's pretty simple. If you haven't checked out the other 2 videos that I've done on these ultrasonics, you better check them out. And any updates that were necessary, I pretty much just gave today, and that's make sure that the sensor is mounted very securely. You don't want the cable tugging on it whatsoever. You don't want it wiggling around. When you're in tight spaces, you have to find good angles. In the instance of this one, it was straight down. So once you had it set nicely, there was nothing messing around. And then also, curtains, decor, anything sitting around, they're also going to trigger this. If you got them mounted outside and a plastic bag rolls in front of it, you might trigger it, because these don't work off a heat signature. They work off of sonar or ultrasonic proximity detection. They work every time. They work too good. So that's just it. Because they work really, really good, you don't want them in tight spaces detecting your labyrinth walls or the curtains flapping on them or something. You got to find the crazy angles to make sure that they've got either the 4 or the 8 feet that you desire to make the prop work. And once you get them in that Goldilocks zone, they work every time. Okay, so here we got Freddy open, and I want to show you where he's hot wired in. And it was as simple as a couple of these easy splice, easy clips, whatever they're called, right onto his existing PIR. And then the hot wire just comes out somewhere up here. And when he's geared in, you hook that up to your relay. Simple as that. So straight into the existing PIR line, there's the hot wire. Put that onto your relay. Should also be noted too that when you're going to hot wire into your props, the reason I suggest now doing it on your existing PIR is because your PIR is set up to run the sequence and then the duty cycle however it was and reset. And the problem with this is if you try to go and gear in one of these onto an on-off switch instead, or one of these, or the stepping pad, or the trimes, or the jemmies, or whatever, it's got to be set up to run the sequence, not to be an on or an off. And if you wire it in to be an on and an off, it's just going to do that. It's going to trigger the prop momentarily, and then it's going to turn off again. You're going to be like, what the heck? Well, this doesn't work. Well, the reason for that is because you need to wire it in to actually run the sequence, and that's where using the existing PIR pretty much always guarantees that it's going to work properly. It's going to run the sequence, and then if your prop has any kind of duty cycle, it's going to take a quick pause, and then it's going to refresh itself, and it's going to be armed and ready again. So do not wire one of these into an on-off switch, or it's going to do just that. I hot wired Freddy's power source as well. So he's got an old phone charger cable. If you didn't know that your phone charger cables often work out to be perfect for your props and animatronics, well, now you do. Don't throw them out.
Look at the wrist.